Welcome to Mind Your Heart podcast, your favorite corner of the internet where we chat about all things mental health. I'm Emily.
And I'm Trina. Together, we're like your real life Lorelai and Rory Gilmore. Each week, we'll bring you real conversations about the world of mental health, and we will peel back layers on topics like anxiety, depression, and much more.
We're here to chat with you about the tough stuff, the everyday stuff, and everything in between. So grab your emotional support water bottle. I know we have ours. Find your comfiest chair or keep your eyes on the road, and let's get into it. Are you ready, Mom?
Absolutely. Join us as we mind our hearts and hopefully make minding yours a little easier.
Welcome back.
Welcome to Mind Your Heart. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. How are you?
I'm also hanging in there.
Yep.
When will this be? I feel like this will be airing like
In November.
this
month.
Yeah, late November.
Yeah.
So we just got done with the election, so we are handling those emotions. And there's just been a lot going on. I feel like this past 2 weeks for me has been a full month. Like it feels like insanity. Like I'm just like, my house is a complete disgusting mess. Like it looks like people are like squatting in our house, basically.
Oh, sweetie. That sucks.
It's such a mess. I mean, like so on Halloween, we had a Halloween party, and Jake had scheduled, you know this, like he scheduled the wrong dates to go to our friend's wedding in Atlanta. So we thought it was going to be the following weekend, but it was actually it was Halloween weekend. So we found that out. He had to change all the flights. We lost a bunch of money. But it was like we had the Halloween party and then we had to leave the next day. So like I didn't really get to clean up from the party. So the house is still a mess just from the party itself.
Oh, wow.
And then and also to top it off, that night we did not put up the trash can. So our trash can in our garage was like overflowing with trash.
Oh, no.
And then we had to leave Friday. I still had to work like both Thursday and Friday. We left Friday night, got there late Friday night, had the wedding Saturday, had to leave the wedding early to get back on a flight home because we were both scheduled Jake was running the event that was happening Sunday morning at church, and I was on social media team because it was baptism Sunday. So, and I was the only one scheduled for that. So like we both had to be there. And then, yeah, it was just that weekend alone. I'm like,
That's a lot. No, I agree. Every time I look down and I'm like, it's the 8th. It doesn't feel like it. Actually, this episode comes out on the week of Thanksgiving. So, yeah, it feels like I can't believe only 8 days have gone by. It feels like at least a month. Yeah, it's a crazy.
But October flew. October
Yeah.
felt like it was just like a blink of an eye.
Yeah, that's true. October was, yeah, it was crazy. I'm already decorating for Christmas, and I have never decorated for Christmas before Thanksgiving.
You
And
did last year.
I did?
Yeah, you did last year because you were like, I just want to decorate for Christmas. And I was like, just
It's
do
all
it.
Amy Lemons' fault. That's that's who I'm blaming. My friend Amy, she starts decorating like right in the very beginning of November. And I'm like, I can't. And then I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can, because I'm not having, I won't be here for Thanksgiving. I'll be in California.
Yeah.
And so I am like, what's the point of keeping it decorated for fall? Now I did decorate for fall pretty early. So like right in the beginning of October. So I think that I'm ready for Christmas, but I have gone like all out. I have a Christmas shower curtain. I've just ordered another. This is how I'm like coping with life, is like spending money that I don't have. And that is, I bought a shower curtain for the bathroom. I've got new towels for the bathroom. I bought a Christmas comforter for Jackson's room. I bought
I saw that. It's very cute.
Isn't it so cute? I got it on Amazon. It's so cute. And then I got another one for myself, from Walmart actually. And it's very cute. And I got a little tree for my room. And it's Yeah, it's beginning to look like Christmas upstairs. And I haven't even gotten out the decorations. That is for tomorrow. So I am so looking forward to just decorating the house. And in fact, I was on the phone earlier today and I was getting highly agitated. And so I just like started getting my like doing my comforter and taking out and putting the little tree up. And
Yeah.
because I'm like, I have to distract myself. Yeah, my emotions are all over the place. So
Yeah. No, I don't remember if it was last year or the year before. I had decorated for Christmas like super early also. But then like by the time Christmas came, I was like, I
yeah,
want this put away. Like I was ready to put Christmas away. So I told myself I was like, I'm not gonna do that again because I want it to be a little bit shorter. Like I want to be able to
yeah,
enjoy it when it's actually like December and on Christmas because I remember I think it was last year like we like took down Christmas like a day or two after Christmas. Like
yeah.
I was like I'm done.
I
So,
always feel that way though. So it doesn't matter. So for me, like I always feel that way. It's like the next day, all right, it's time to take it down. And even if it's only been up, for a couple of weeks. And so now I'm like, well, now I have longer for it to be up and and
yeah.
then it will come down probably the same around the same
I'm
time.
not
But
ready. I'm not ready for
oh, I'm
Christmas.
not ready either.
I have no idea what
Yeah.
anybody wants, or I don't even know what I want. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't even like you've asked me, Jake has asked me. I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. And I have no idea what to get anybody else. And Jake, he even said he was like, like he is Mr. Prepared for Christmas in
Yeah.
April.
Yeah.
But like he's like, this is the least prepared I've been for Christmas ever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it's because he's focused on like engagement stuff, but um
Mm, wow.
I but I'm like yeah, I feel the same way. I don't know what to get anybody.
Well, I
So,
have gotten you one thing, one small thing, and I got Jackson one small thing, and that's it. I don't have anything else for anyone. A bunch of Christmas decor. So,
yeah, I've gotten zero gifts for anyone. I got my friend Grace a birthday present, but that's in
well, yeah.
November, so
Well, I don't know. Anyway, all right. So today we are going to take some questions. This episode is specifically questions. There's questions to you, there's questions to me, there's questions to both of us. So I am going to select a few and we'll take it from there. Does it sound good?
yeah, are you gonna read the questions? I'm not
Yeah.
gonna read any. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. So, okay, here's the first question. And this one is for both of us.
Okay.
So it says, how has doing this podcast together impacted your relationship as mother and daughter?
Hmm. I feel like I have to think. Do you have an answer?
Yeah.
Okay, then you
So,
go first.
all right. So, I mean, I don't have like a scripted answer, but
Well, yeah, no, I know. But like
yeah.
if you're ready to answer, then you go
Yeah.
first.
I haven't even really looked at the questions all the way to tell you the truth. I just
Yeah.
opened them up and I was like, okay. So, and like categorized and was all set. But I think, I mean, I already felt, um, like we have a special bond.
Yeah.
So that already, like, there's nothing that has changed in that case for me. But
Hmm.
the whole reason why I wanted to do this podcast was so that we had at least some time where we were like, we're going to get together. We have to get together. And although here we are on Zoom. So
I know. Okay, well this like we just said, this month has
yeah.
been wild, so
Yeah.
this was just the easier option.
Yeah, we had to do it this way. But normally we don't. We come
Yeah.
together at one of our houses and we record. And we are able to do that thanks to Jake. And so it is like a time that I know I'm going to get a chance to spend with you. And so that is something that I look forward to. Even though there are times where I'm like, "Oh gosh, we have to record, we have to record." So, yeah. So I think and also I really have enjoyed having the guests that we've had, and not all those episodes have come out yet. So, but people will know by the time this one
Yeah.
comes. The just watching you and like talk and interview and just engage with other people, and it's just I don't know, I love it. It just makes me so proud of you. You are, yeah, you're such a like being able to see you as an adult, like watching yeah, it makes me feel emotional. Seeing you as an adult is, it's like you have exceeded every expectation that I could have ever had. And I never like wanted to put high expectations or expectations that were difficult on you. And so I try to like let you just be who you are. And I am like just blown away by who you are. I mean, you've always blown me away from the moment you entered the world, but just watching you grow and change and iterate and make new decisions and do new things and travel to Bali by yourself and plan to go to Peru and like all these, I don't know, and then just watching your love story unfold with Jake, just the whole thing has been such a gift, such a gift.
Thank you. That was a really good answer. I feel like my answer's gonna pale in comparison to that.
Well,
I,
this is
I,
not a competition.
yeah, no, I know, but I'm just like, wow, thank you. Thank you. I feel like I don't know, like whenever we started the podcast, like I was excited, but I guess like I didn't even realize like how it's really interesting to me to be able to hear like both of our perspectives on things like in detail.
Mm.
In a way where like we're not just like having a conversation with each other, but you're also like talking like to the audience. Like so like you're explaining like more in depth about
Hmm.
like the way that you're thinking.
Yeah,
Whereas like if we're just having a conversation, like obviously you're not fully like explaining the way because like we're just talking and
yeah,
I know you. But
yeah,
I think it's interesting to be able to like see how we both think together and separately and
yeah,
like what that looks like when we come together. So yeah, I don't know. And I think it's really cool like the response that we've gotten about doing it together.
yeah,
Like people are always like, "Oh, like that's so special. Like I love that you're doing that with your
yeah,
mom," or like you guys have such a good connection. And I'm like, "Yeah, like it's true." Like and it's cool. It's cool for like people to also like see that
yeah,
because like you said like it has always been like that. Like we've always been like very close. Um and I used to like explain it to people. Like I
yeah,
like when I think I said this on the podcast before like I'm like when I was in high school, like I would go home and like tell you stuff and people would be like, "You told your mom that?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, like I tell my mom everything." Whereas like now it's like people actually like see how we communicate. I'm like, I don't have to explain it. Like
yeah,
you can feel it and see it yourself. So
yeah,
I think that's cool. I yeah, it's all been good. Like everything's been good. It is funny to see like how like you get stressed about like like smaller things sometimes and I'm like it's all right. Like we're gonna be okay.
yeah. No, that's true. But it's also interesting to be explaining it to an audience because even when I listen, and I know you don't, oh, that drives me crazy. I even when I listen back, I'm like, oh, I didn't mean it like that. But I do eventually get a chance to say I didn't mean it
Yeah.
like that. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just interesting. And you're funny because there was one time where I felt like I said something that almost sounded insulting to you, and you were like, well, blah, 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 whatever you said. And I was like, well, she handled that well. You didn't like get upset or mad. You just
Yeah.
like went with the flow and kind of explained. And I was like, I didn't mean it like that. It definitely came out like that, but I'm glad you didn't take it like that. Or if you did,
Yeah.
you did a good job of not like reacting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, you're normally like that, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. But I
Yeah.
do, yeah, I think it's been fun.
Yeah. I agree.
All right, let's go to another one.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do let's do one that's whoops. Let's do one. I'll do one just for myself. So, how has your background in education and mental health advocacy influenced the way you approach conversations with Emily? Ooh. Um,
I'm
okay.
interested to hear this answer.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like ebbed and flowed, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, because I feel like, when I felt like a die hard teacher, like I felt like that was part of my identity and I was proud of it. And I loved education and loved teaching. Really the what was at the forefront has always been children.
Mm-hmm.
And and me wanting to have my own children. I mean, I wanted to be a mom more than I wanted to be a teacher. I
Yeah.
wanted to be a mom and have babies and be able to be home with them. But we've talked about this before where I feel like that job was actually not for that because it left
Yeah.
me so exhausted and depleted that I didn't feel like I had the energy that I wanted to have with you and Jackson. But so I think in the beginning it helped as far as like focusing on literature and like making sure there was lots of books in the house and I was constantly reading to you in my belly and like read to you on day one. The first book I ever read to you was Dear Mr. Blueberry, which the
Hmm.
main character's name was
Yeah.
Emily. And
Oh, yeah, I remember
well,
that.
yeah. And so it was like, I'm like, I didn't even know that. Like, I just picked it up, just happened to be one of the books that I had received from like friends or whatever. And I'm like, oh, this is for Emily. And so like that kind of stuff was good. But then, as time went on and it became like I don't know if there was pressure on you as far as like doing well in school. You were a teacher's kid and all that kind of craziness that goes on. But as I started getting like frustrated with the system and feeling like we were hurting kids, I was like I started to notice that there were cracks in your education and how you were feeling about yourself as a reader, as a thinker, and all those things. But I will say, like finding Sir Ken Robinson was like such a gift. I just absolutely love him going to the technology conference, listening to him speak, talking about children and their element, about finding things that they're passionate about and finding things that they were really good at was very inspiring for me. And it spoke to me on a different level. And he talked about how all of our paths don't go in one way and they're not all linear and not everyone has to go to college. And that was a huge shift for me because I really thought that everyone, my kids are going to college. Like we're raising children that are going to go to college and then they'll get a job and whatever. And so it was a big shift for me to be like, it doesn't have to be this way. And there's other things. And so I was able to accept the decisions that you made openly, and encouragingly, I feel like,
Yeah.
because of having that background.
Yeah.
But
That
but
was
you're
also a shift for you too.
yeah, you're
Like if
right.
you think about it, because
Yeah.
I'm like that also, I feel like that sparked like really starting to be like, I'm gonna do my own thing, not as a
Yeah.
teacher. Like
Yeah.
that started that mindset too. So I think that
You're right.
shifted a lot for you.
You're right. And that's when I actually was getting my master's at Full Sail. It was really Full Sail that
Hmm.
opened my eyes because it was all about like multiple intelligence and
Yeah.
collaboration and critical thinking and all these things. And I like fell in love with that. And also I realized I didn't want to just be a cog in a machine. I
Yeah.
wanted, and I don't think that teachers are just cogs in a machine. I think that's how people that our teachers are treated.
Hmm.
And it's easy to go along with that because you are scared and you feel like you have no other choice. I thought you froze for a second. That was a long eye
Yeah,
shut.
I did freeze
Oh, you
because
did?
my eyes
Okay.
were not closed for that long.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just
Um,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
So I think it was a shift. And so but that was all kind of inspired really because of you and Jackson, which again were like at the forefront for me. So watching cracks for you and then Jackson just completely not be able to handle the
Yeah.
system was just a different was yeah. So I guess, in a way it like was a massive part, but in another way it was, I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah.
It was still always about you and Jackson for me.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
All right, let's do one for you.
Okay.
Oh, this is a good one. What's one thing you've learned from your mom that has shaped your perspective on life and mental health?
Hmm. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is like the do it afraid thing, which I feel like I've like talked about like a lot.
Mhm.
Um, but that's definitely like just probably one of the biggest things. I don't know, like I feel like that's such a huge life lesson that you've taught me of just like that sometimes like you're not gonna not be afraid. Like it's just gonna be scarier. It's just gonna be hard, but like you can still do it anyways.
Mm.
And that like applies to literally everything, whether it be mental health or it be just like day to day life or business or relationships or whatever. Like doing it afraid and like being okay with accepting like how you feel
Mhm.
and not like judging your feelings, but allowing yourself to like move forward and keep going.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I feel like that's probably the thing that I
Yeah.
always think of. The other thing that came to mind was like be a duck. Like I just thought of that just because you said that to me recently.
Yeah.
Which like for anyone that has not ever heard the be a duck saying, it's like the idea that like a duck's like feathers are like they repel water basically, so like water goes down their back and just like goes right off. And thinking about like being a duck and being like just letting it roll off your back and be
Yeah.
okay to keep moving on, which is kind of like in the same vein as do it afraid.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the two things that I would say.
Yeah. And then there's another part of this that I was wondering if you feel the way too, because the question asked about like mental health advocacy. Um, that is always like that's been a thing that I've struggled with. So when you struggled, like it was like I'm like, this is something we need to figure out. I don't think I wanted to in the beginning. I feel like I was in the middle of such chaos and like trying to get my master's and all that stuff at the same time and not really wanting to know what was happening and then realizing I think she's in trouble. Like I think she's having a hard time in sixth grade.
Mm-hmm.
And what can I do about this? And one of the things is changing schools. Like I got to get her out of this school. I got to
Yeah.
be willing to go to a charter school, which again as a public school teacher that's very like oh no. and
Yeah.
um and so I was like it doesn't matter what people are saying about anything. What matters is her, the way she feels. And then another aspect was I remember when we were getting divorced, when your dad and I were getting divorced, and um your guidance counselor in high school was like you got to put her, it was like algebra 1 or 2 or whatever it was. And they were like, she has to be in this class. It's going to be hard SATs and all that. And I was like, no, like it doesn't,
Yeah.
I don't care like what you're saying. I
Mm-hmm.
understand that that might impact her, but she has too heavy of a load and there's too much going on in her personal life. I don't want to put that pressure on her. So I made decisions
Mm-hmm.
like that with you based on mental health first,
Mm-hmm.
not academics, mental health.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember I don't remember what grade it was. I feel like it was maybe 8th grade where they wanted me to go into like an algebra
Like it,
2
yeah.
or something like that was a high school level math class.
Okay.
And so I feel like they originally like had placed me in something like that, but the thing is that I really wanted to continue being in musical theater. Like that was a class that I like really enjoyed and I liked
Mhm.
and I wanted to keep the same teacher and
You needed some stability too.
yeah,
So,
and I had done that since I had gotten to that school. So I was like, I really want to keep that. And they were like, the only way you can keep that is if you do just like regular math. Like it's not gonna be advanced, it's not a high school class, like it's literally just called like math. Like
math.
and I was like, cool, like I want to do that. Um and like I ended up doing that and I remember like it feeling like so good to like just be
Yeah.
in a class that was just like it was just okay for me to like be in the just normal range. Like it didn't have to be like above all these
Yeah.
expectations and I didn't have to strive for like excellence all the time. Like I was just like doing the best I could like in a math class. And I
Yeah.
loved that teacher. She was like such a good teacher, and like I like made friends in that class cuz people like they were a little more relaxed. Like no one was
Mm.
like focused on their future all the time, like, and I got to be in musical theater, like,
Yeah.
and that was like really important to me. So yeah, like I do remember that. Like I remember going to, because they had told you that, and then I also had to go like in person to the counselor and be like, this is my choice, like put me in the regular math class and give me musical theater.
Yeah.
And she was like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. Like, just give me the
Hmm.
freaking class, dude. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
we don't need to have this conversation over and over again.
Yeah. It was, yeah, it's crazy. All right, let's go backwards. So one more for you. Um, how has your journey as a mental health coach impacted the way you communicate with your mom?
Hmm. Ooh, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know that like it has changed the way that I communicate with you, because I feel like I almost in a sense like have always been a mental health coach. I know that
Yeah.
sounds like kind of silly, but like I
No, you're
I
right.
just feel like that's how I have always communicated, like
Yeah.
with people
Yep.
in general. So I don't necessarily know that like that position has like changed the way that I talk to you. I do think that like that itself hasn't changed things, but like just over like the past like probably like 3, maybe 4 years, like the way that we communicate with each other and the the dynamic has like grown into something different.
Hmm.
I don't think that has anything to do with like being a mental health coach. I just think that it just had to do with like me becoming an adult and like
Yeah.
us like shifting like us not living together anymore, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Um so yeah, I don't really think that like being a coach like has changed how I communicate with you. I think that it's only just like allowed me to do it in
Yeah.
like a different way almost with you, because like I am like sometimes I am your coach and
Yes.
sometimes I'm not.
Yeah.
So like whenever I am your coach, like I but I when I say that, I'm like the dynamic that has grown and shifted with us like has allowed me to be a coach for you. Like
Yeah.
I don't think that I would have been able to do that like in a healthy way a couple of years ago. Like
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been able to like separate that as much
Yeah.
as like I can like compartmentalize it now. But like
I
on a
think the same
regular
is true
basis.
for me. I
Yeah.
I'm able to accept like what you have to say and offer as somebody that is better at that than I am.
Hmm.
And I think that can be a shift for like a parent child, as far as feeling like, you know what I mean? I actually feel
Yeah.
that way as far as like work stuff goes as well, where like you doing social media things for me, I like in the past was like, well, I know this and she doesn't know that. And now I'm like, oh no, she does it better than I can, whatever she says. Um, so like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a shift as well. So I think no, and you're so professional. Like when you do the coaching part, I don't even sometimes feel like I'm talking to you. I feel
Yeah.
like yeah. So that is so interesting. But you're right. You have always, I mean, even when it wasn't really appropriate for you to be my person, um, you were.
Mhm.
So it's like a natural part of who you are.
Yeah, and I feel like that with like a lot of people too. Like
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
kind of feel like I've always
yeah,
just had that role. I mean, people used to call me mom in high
yeah,
school. Like I was the
yeah,
person people came to like for that
yeah,
kind of advice. So like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that specifically has changed anything for me. I just think that time and like growth
yeah,
has like shifted the way that I can like look at it and then like healthily compartmentalize like different sections of it, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
It does. All right. And then one for me. What's one thing you've learned from Emily about mental health or self-care that's changed the way you see things? Well, one thing is definitely better understanding, like watching you have like failed drugs, like failed like medications for depression as opposed to meaning, I mean, you failed. I mean, they failed. Like
Yeah.
they didn't work. And like,
Prescription drugs, just so we're
yeah,
clear. I'm not like on like crack or anything like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Having watched the fact that it was difficult for you to find, like that was the same thing for me, but it was actually, it seemed harder, even harder for you because you didn't have a good person to start with.
Yeah.
And I had an outstanding person from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I think that was a huge difference. But watching how that can happen to people and how they can get the wrong people and get the wrong, medication, and then it was like very eye-opening to see
Mhm.
and understand. Also, I think the thing that I've learned from you is like how like you're like committed to self-care. And I think your generation is actually committed to
Yeah.
self-care and like work-life balance. Whereas
Mhm.
my generation is just like you grind until there's nothing left.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, it's really there's like two parts of me sometimes where I'm like, well, why are people taking naps? It's grind until you can't go any further. And
Yeah.
then but then there's another part of me that's like, and look where that got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very commendable at the same time to see that it like you've prioritized your well-being and your mental health. And I think that is really important and inspirational. So
Yeah. One of my like affirmations is like I'm successful even when I don't push myself to my limit. So that I can like remind myself of that. Like it's okay to like not push myself to the edge and like I can still be successful with things because it's hard. It's so hard, especially when you are a business owner
yeah,
because like
yeah,
you do have to grind in like other kinds of ways, but it's like having to have the balance of like not pushing yourself to burnout basically and also working to make it work. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All right. We'll do two more. So
Okay.
this one is for both of us. Um, do you think other mothers and daughters should try a similar project together? And what advice would you give them?
Uh that's so hard to answer because I'm like, who are the people? Like, what's their
Yeah,
dynamic? Like,
yeah,
I think that like this works for us because like of our relationship
yeah,
and the way that we think and the way that we already communicate. Um, like I even like I was saying, like if we tried to do this 4 years ago, I don't think that it would have been good.
oh
Like
no, no.
we would
Mm-mm.
have been unhappy and it would have been a mess and it just wouldn't have been enjoyable. So I'm like, no, I don't think every mother and daughter should do this. But do I think that every like parent child like dynamic should like work on their communication with each other? Yeah. Like I
Yeah,
think that,
yeah.
but that doesn't look like doing a
A
project
podcast.
together. Yeah,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
podcasts. Like I
yeah,
feel like that can just be like, okay, well we don't talk very often. Okay, like start texting once a week or something like that. Like just making like the communication a priority. For us, like we have done a lot of work on our communication and how we work together. So, and this is like a creative way for both of us to come together and continue that
yeah,
growth. So I'm like, it made sense for us, but it definitely would not make sense for everybody. And it would not have made sense for us 3, 4 years ago.
yeah. I agree. I think it would have been, we could have done it when you were younger. I think that it would have been fun and we
Yeah.
would have had a great time. But there was an adjustment period for both of us, like
Yeah.
you leaving the nest and growing up and, and Jake being like the primary person and me being like, oh, where do I fit? Where do I stand? Like I'm
Mhm.
losing her. She needs space and boundaries and all those things. And like how you deal and navigate with that. Like I
Yeah.
think that time period in life, it can be hard. It's
For sure.
especially I felt like for us because we didn't have like those angst years of
Yeah.
you being a teenager. Like I was
Hmm.
unprepared for that
Hmm.
to happen at 21. Like
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. she doesn't like me now. Like I
It
made it
was
through
never that I
13.
didn't like you. No, it was never that I didn't like you. Yeah, no, it's like it was like not a subtle transition. Like there was no
No, yeah.
transition stage. It was like boom, boom. Like this
Yeah.
is the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was difficult. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah. So I think it depends. I
Yeah.
agree. Depends on the person. All right.
Yeah.
And then the last question is a fun question. And this
Okay.
is going to be so easy. Like this, I already laughed at this one. This is the one I did actually read. And I was like, okay, if you could pick any fictional mother-daughter duo to join you on an episode, who would it be and what would you talk about?
I wonder who we're gonna pick. Lorelai and Rory
And Rory.
Gilmore.
Yep. Oh, Lorelai and Rory. And what would
Yeah.
we talk about? We would ask questions about Luke. We would ask questions about
Yeah. Oh,
Logan.
I would want to know
Yeah.
who the
Who's the
baby,
father?
who's the
Yeah.
freaking father of
Who's the
Rory's
daddy?
now, yeah, who's the baby daddy? Like, give us the tea. And then
Oh,
also, like, do you eventually end up with Logan? Because you freaking should. Like,
yeah.
he loves you, you love him. Let's make it
Yeah.
happen, man.
And let's hear about Luke and Lorelai and how they're
Yeah.
just how they love each other and their marriage and all
Hmm.
that good stuff.
Yeah.
And how's Emily and yeah,
Yeah.
how do you keep in contact with Suki? Like I really want to know about that.
Yeah.
So, how's
Yeah.
Michelle? Like these are
Yeah.
questions.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree. Yep.
Oh.
What's
All
happening in
right.
Stars Hollow? Is Taylor
Yep.
going crazy? Like, give us
Oh
all of the
gosh,
things
yeah.
that are yeah.
Oh. So, there's like a bunch more, but we can do this another day. I think this is good for now. So, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you to the audience for listening. Thanks for tuning in. We are here every Monday. Remind Your Heart Mondays. If you enjoy watching, then you can always watch us on YouTube. Just subscribe, and then you can even hit that little notification button, little bell, so that way you get notified when the video goes live. And then if you're just a listener, you're listening to us in the shower, in the car, on the walk, then subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah. And feel free to like leave your own question. You can
Yeah.
put that in the comments wherever you listen or on
Yep.
the comments of YouTube. So, yeah.
Yep. Comments anywhere. There's also a link in all the descriptions where you can like if you have an in-depth question, then you can fill that out. That's like maybe more personal to you, then we can go over that too. So, yeah, lots of options for you.
Yeah. See you next
All right.
week.
All right, bye.